Okay, shall we make a start? I'll chair it in Lizana's absence until she joins us. Probably, I'm sure something's come up. So thank you for joining, and thank you for showing an interest in the book proposal. Um, uh, what we intend to do this morning, it's unlike any of our other rigs. Normally, we'd have one or two uh, invited speakers, and we know exactly where we are. There would be a 45-minute presentation, question and answers. We know the meeting is going to take an hour, or if we've got any research to be shared between members, we factor that in. Here, it's a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I've got a PowerPoint of the book proposal and where we are at the moment and the call for abstracts. So I can go through that. It won't take very long. In fact, one of the other rigs, I think their meeting was over in half an hour. So it depends on how participative we are today. So I can present the overview, and then the idea was that the book proposal is a collaboration between members of Belmas. So therefore, we would like some feedback. And if anyone is interested in submitting an abstract or working together, you might think, well, within my subject, I'd be keen to write a chapter, but possibly with a Belmas colleague, we might be able to sort of link you up in that sense. So if you've got any ideas, then the meeting's open to you to either provide an abstract if you've got one in draft, or just an overview of any idea that you might have. So that's the basis of the meeting today. If anyone at the end of the meeting has got anything to share, any sort of research updates, um, Alex, for instance, you're saying you've got 2 weeks, so you must be very close to submitting. You could share anything like that. So we've got any research updates. So I think what we're here essentially for the book proposals. So if I could share my screen, am I able to do that? Um, Nikki, I'm able to do that. Okay, let's have a look then.
Как-то не очень хочет работать, вот честно.
Is that sharing now?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
All right. Okay. I'll leave it like that. And it's clear enough. I know we've had one or two people present and it hasn't really worked terribly well, very muffly and so on, but if this works. I don't intend to spend too long on this. It's to give you an overview. We're here. Any of the rig coordinators are able to provide any information. So you could always email us on any of this. So I'll just go through a little bit of the background to just turn on full screen share. That might be easier even. Is that even easier?
Yeah, so that's fine.
Is that better? Okay, I'm just aware as soon as I do that, I lose sight of everybody until I exit. Um, so the background to this is Myers Educational Publishing. We're at the conference last year and had discussed with the Belmas Council the idea of a book series based on the Each Research Interest Group. Um, Following that, we had a meeting with Chris Myers, the owner of the publishing company. They're based essentially in the United States and don't have much of a presence, I don't think. Certainly here in the UK or Europe. So I think they were wanting to work with Belmas, and I think they were wanting to work with us and having initial discussions for a couple of years. So we had a meeting. It was as late as I think December, um, and so we put the idea out following that meeting to the rigs, and I think there's five rigs interested at this moment in time, and we've been given a proposal document. So essentially, the proposal document we'll work on that. The coordinators and Belmar's office will work on the proposal document, but essentially, we've got the call for abstracts for chapters. So, thinking to date is that we've got and feedback from members. Um, the book title or the book theme, Democratising Educational Governance. Oh, before I actually start on this PowerPoint, I'd just say that I did write all of the information from our discussions. So all the content of this short PowerPoint I'd written. But I just thought I'd experiment. You may be a lot better, colleagues, a lot better than I at this. But I just put it through Copilot and asked it to produce from the information a visually interesting PowerPoint. And I've not done that before on uh, uh, for a PowerPoint. So you'll have to feed back to tell me how you think it was. And because of that, I actually haven't changed it. I just this is the first draft that came through. So as you see it, that's that's how it was produced. So we've got the book proposal meeting and a workshop because we can break off into groups to discuss the essence of the proposal. And if you want to share any of your ideas, then that's brilliant. And it's in partnership, as you can see, with Myers Educational Publishing. So the publication, the Governing Governance Research Interest Group is to invite abstracts, the pretty short abstracts, 300 to 500 words, for an edited book proposal. And it will be part of an exciting series, I think, of the research interest groups. The interest groups to date are governance, post-16 education and leadership, early years, organisational reform, and inclusion, the inclusion group, inclusion leadership. And the purpose here is to showcase the work that we do, innovative thinking, practitioner insight, research that advances the understanding of educational governance. And we felt that it ought to be across diverse contexts. So other slides will explore that, but basically it's across our school system, whether that's primary, secondary, academy system, FE, universities, the university HE sector. And also many members, and it's very important to have a global perspective. Many members, in fact, our last rig, we had two people join us from Japan. So there'd be a global element to that as well. Topics of interest we've been discussing between members and the conveners. So the topics in the book would be a section on the nature of governance. I'm particularly interested myself on the nature of governance, and I think it sets the tone for the book. For example, the paper that I published in the MIE with Nigel Gann looks at the architecture of school governance and governance theory, the transition from government to governance. So it will have a theoretical section. Um, we felt it was important to have a historical background to governance. Don't know how far back we'll start that, but you could, uh, if you've got any ideas, a obvious starting point is 1945 Education Act or the 88 Act. Um, a section on governance, recruitment, induction, stakeholder governance. Broadly, I mean, the terms might change, but we felt that broadly stakeholder governance, so that could be a parental involvement, pupil voice, staff involvement, cooperative governance. And we haven't got any preconceived ideas of the book at this time. It very much depends, I suspect, on abstracts and feedback. Um, and of course, we've got the global perspectives. So moving on, and if you've got any questions, I'll just take them at the end of this presentation. It's always a bit disconcerting when you're doing a presentation, particularly if you lose sight of the people you're presenting to because you haven't got any nods or smiles coming in. So who should contribute? It, along the lines of the Belmas ethos, we were wanting it to be as broad to reflect our membership. So it's researchers working with any of the Belmas research interest groups could have an interest in this. School leaders, bringing leadership perspectives and lived experience of governance. So governors, maybe organisations that are linked to Belmas too, or that regularly participate in our events. Coordinators and practitioners connecting research and practice in educational governance. But essentially, it's about submissions that connect research and practice and contributions from emerging scholars, practitioner voices are encouraged. So we've got the actual call for abstracts. We did put out um, a flyer some weeks ago calling for abstracts. So if anyone was interested, they could. The only person that has actually got in touch at this moment in time is Ron Hill, and he's interested in submitting a chapter. We haven't heard from anyone else. I think people were just holding back until this meeting. But the call for abstracts would be 300 to 500 words um, from essentially our members. The book itself, in discussion with the publisher, would be 90,000 words as a maximum. And that's cover to cover. So we felt, and we'd like your feedback on this, we felt if chapters were 4 to 5 thousand words, then 15 chapters thereabouts, a number of chapters on each of the themes that we've discussed. 15 chapters is around 75,000 words. And by the time the book is top and tail, that would be the 90,000 or just under the 90,000 maximum. So we welcome contributions and can discuss the contributions at this from today essentially. And I've the last slide on this PowerPoint is indicative time frame. And again, any feedback on this is really welcome. So I wouldn't have put it like this as co-pilot, but I just put in a little matrix, and this is what we've got. So the time frame is essentially abstracts invited. As I said, we first called for abstracts just last month. So abstracts will be invited, just the 500 words with a biography, to the end of term essentially. So that's August. We would then, the coordinating group would put the abstracts together, and we have a proposal document. We would work that proposal document through over the summer and submit the proposal document to Myers Educational Press in around October. This is our thinking. There might be slippage on this, and that wouldn't be a problem if there was. So we've got till October the proposal. So if the publishers have the proposal, they'd need to be able to consider, review the proposal, and then we would have feedback essentially to the end of the year. So we're putting nominally December to January. What was a bit scary in our meeting with Chris Myers, and we said, "Well, how long once we've got the go-ahead from your reviewers, because they might ask us to tweak it a little bit. Once we've got the go-ahead, how long would you allow us to write the chapters?" And Chris said, "Oh, well, 6 months." And we thought, well, I guess you would, because um, what Chris said is if he gives you a year, you'll use the year. If you give you 9 months, you use the 9 months. But normally you can write that chapter and go through the revisions of the chapter within a 6 month period. So essentially, if this was the time frame, uh, we get the go ahead from Myers Educational Press in January. Submission of chapters is going to be up to about July. And then publication would be thereafter. I don't know how many months after. We've not actually discussed that, but it wouldn't be that far off from that date, I suspect. So I'll finish on that. I can take any questions. Let me just exit this now. Right, I can see people again now, so that's much better.
I've got a question,
Right,
Andy.
are there any initial questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
can I ask a question around authorship? So I've discussed this with my supervisor, who would love to do it with me as joint
Hmm.
authors. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, yeah, that would be fine. What one of the in the proposal document that we were issued by Myers, clearly they want to sell as many books as possible in the States, across Europe, in the UK. Um, if you just had the one author writing a book, the market is arguably that much smaller because one of the ideas is we want to be collaborative and involve as many as our members as possible, hence the 15 chapters. So that could potentially have up to, if they were all co-authored, up to 30 authors. Um, uh, Also, I think a significant point that it mentions is if your book, if you've written it in your department, maybe it could become one of the books on your reading list that you give to students. Because obviously they want to get the book out there and the knowledge disseminated, and they're interested in sales, of course. So yes, Alex, that's a sensible approach, really useful approach.
So, Andy, just following up on that then. So for example, I'm sort of an alumni of BCU at the moment, but may work with, doctorate workers within BCU. They're not Belmas, but would that matter? If I'm Belmas, but I'm working, say, with my supervisor who was but isn't anymore. Uh,
Yeah. I think I'd check that with the Belmas
right.
Council. Has the office got
Okay.
any views on this? I think they could easily join Belmas, but I mean, if the lead author
Okay.
in it is
Yeah.
Belmas, I can't see
Yeah.
it being a problem. But it probably would be better if we were
Yes.
Belmas members, because it's
Okay.
to showcase the research that Belmas is
Yes.
doing. But of course, you're a member
I'm the member. Yeah.
of Belmas. Yeah, that's right, and
But
it's
their names
based
might
on
be
your
mentioned that if it was collaborative, their authorship might be
yes,
recognised. Yeah.
yes, it would. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll check with the council then, probably with that.
Well, I would cross-check before
Yeah.
making a
Yeah.
decision entirely myself, but I mean, it's what is sensible, isn't it? And I think that's
Yes.
entirely
Yes.
sensible. I mean, if
I
you've
mean,
got
I'm like
director of studies over the last 5 years, in fact, yours was pretty much Abdullah, who's
who was my
very,
supervisor as well. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely. I've
it's
got a couple
totally
of hands up there.
collaborative.
We've got Danny. I think yours was up first.
Yeah, I just a question about the sort of broad subject areas. You mentioned that you want it to be global, but also you've got that um, historical element. Are you thinking that the historical element would just be the sort of UK or English system, or it just
Haven't
seemed
thought
just
that
like
far through.
I just
Initially, when
thought,
we put the historical background to governance, how we
yeah,
govern, and the transition of say, government governance, the idea, our original thinking, it would be broadly the UK
yeah,
system. But we might have exemplars from, I don't know, charter schools in the States, for instance.
yeah,
But in talking to Belmas, the council, and Deb, it was clear that the ethos is and membership is global, isn't it? I mean, you've
Yeah.
only got to look at email for that. So uh, I suspect that if there's a section on, and we've got 15 chapters on the background or the history, there could be a couple of chapters on that, couldn't they? I guess in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult, and we don't want to be prescriptive at this time.
No, I was just
Okay.
saying thank you.
Right. I know we've got Eric and Lizana as well. Lizana, good to see you. Shall I take your
Hi, Andy.
question? Great to see you, Lizana.
Good to see you as well. I had a bit of an epic challenge with Zoom this morning, but good to see you and everyone else here. Just in relation to the questions on collaborative working, I think in essence it is a Bahamas project, but to get the reach, I think it's always sensible to also have a wide range of people connecting. I think it's a mixture, probably, Andy, as we've discussed, of local lenses, but also then I think later in the book we're looking at international areas of focus. So I think it very much depends on how you would position it. And I think our thinking was that the international list would be more positioned at the end in the last section of the book, from what I understood. But I think generally speaking, we were also kind of thinking in our planning that having vignettes or case studies from a wide range of practices might also bring the theoretical element to life. So again, there's some thought that you can put into who do you want to approach to also add into that to make your book more accessible, or your chapter or whatever you're producing or proposing, to enable you to have that wider reach as well. Is that helpful?
Absolutely, yeah. A wide reach and highly,
because it's all to do with the marketability of the book.
production.
So Andy needs to make a case on whether this book will move forward and be successful as well. So we need to have that balance between what we want to convey, but also ensuring that it could progress in the way it needs to.
Eric, your hand's been up for some while. Could we take your question?
Yeah, I mean, it's also
Lizana, if you want to answer as well any of these questions as obviously the convener and working on this from the beginning, then please do. Eric, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's related to what has been sort of raised previously. I just wondered whether, as part of sort of giving potential contributors the blurb of what to sort of focus on, I just wondered whether it'll be helpful to, because I think you started mentioning in terms of the potential audience. So is this something that we're hoping will end up on bookshelves as recommended text for master's programs or taught programs, or the focus is mainly to sort of influence policy, therefore it's something that policymakers should be pointing to, etc. So I think it'll be helpful to give some guidance and on potential audience for the book, so that contributors can sort of start thinking about how to position their papers, their contributions.
Do you want to take that, Lizana? I can contribute too.
Thank you, Andy. I think it's a really interesting question, but I think modern books don't have the luxury to just have one audience anymore. So I think it's a mixture of audiences. And the idea is that it would be a book that could be referred to for studying, but also for practitioners, as well as then those who are in policy. So we need to think about a broader lens, and that ties in with the case we need to make for the book, and also making it workable for a wide range of people. So it's not just one audience. We need to think a little bit broader to ensure that the book is also marketable in a wide range of contexts. But I think it's not a bad thing to do that, because I think that it gives us quite a lot of scope in terms of how we can approach it, and also add a bit of creativity and make it interesting as well.
I'd agree. And in the PowerPoint, we said who should contribute. Well, it researchers, school leaders, coordinators, and practitioners. And I think if they're contributing, it's that group that would want to read it as well. But one of the key points that they make, make in the proposal document, is that you have a broad range of authors, and through their networks, you've got the book sales.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
that helps.
Yeah,
Eric.
I raised that because the writing styles will vary. How we write for practitioners will be different from how we write for a research or teaching context. So that's why I raised it. But I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well,
I
I think
appreciate
it's a
that it has to be
really
broad.
useful point, and I think would put that on the Belmas website, because this information will be going on the website along with the job form. Now, I'm going to go through the job form as well, so you could see what needs to be completed. I've got that on another screen here, but I think with most of the, say, MIE and certainly forum that I've published in, they don't the articles or the chapters don't want to be heavily academic and impenetrable. It cuts the readership right down, doesn't it? And there's no need. I mean, sometimes we can be too clever for our own good. You write something, you've got great ideas, and no one can access them. And I think there's a real balance there. It wants to be widely read, and your ideas, um, uh, in a small way, contribute to changing ideas and policy, don't they? Forming ideas. It's the contribution that we make through our research and our dissemination of knowledge. Any other points, maybe to Lizana, and I can have a quick look at the job form and share the job form, because that's what you'd need to complete. Having said that, if anyone has got an idea for their abstract or a draft abstract and wants to send it to any of us on a convener, so that's Abdullah, Lizana, Rosie, or myself, you could send it and we could have an informal discussion first prior to uploading to the website. So, Lizana, have you got any comments on that? So I'm just going to close my PowerPoint down now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that we connect with colleagues and mentor each other to ensure that we are successful and move this along. So I'm very happy to look at drafts, and I know Abdullah and Rosie indicated the same willingness to support you. So do reach out and connect with us, and we're always very happy to support you.
Right. Can I share my screen again? Is that okay? Because I've got the job form here. It's not on the Belmas website as yet, but linked to the rig, I suspect, will have essentially the information on the book proposal that that I've shared through the PowerPoint, and there'll be a link to the job form. So let me just share this. I'm hoping that's it. Is that a job form? I can't on my screen that comes up. It's really quite. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that probably will come through in a second. Is that sharing?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It looks as if we're back.
Yeah.
So well done, the clever people in Belmas office for producing this. So once you've got your idea, and I suspect we've discussed the proposals and kicked ideas around, we've got the rig event submission form here. Oh, hang on, is this the correct job form?
I think that's to do with.
No, that let me just stop sharing that a moment.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear me. The link is in the chat as well on the side.
The link to the job form?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. I've searched job form there, and it's my last job form that was submitted. So if I open that link. There we are. Thank you. Thank you for helping me. I've got a couple of forms just open here. So here we are. So this is a job form. So we've spent a bit of time on trying to get this right and simplify it. So we've just got your name, email, your institution, role position, just a tick box there on that one. Which rig or rigs that you're a member of, title of your proposed contribution, and then you can just download your abstract of up to 500 words. A biography, got a simple biography there, again, probably only 150 words. And oh, we've added the 150 in there. How your submission connects to research and practice. Very simple, straightforward form, but this is the route to submitting the abstract. I'm submitting as emergent researcher or practitioner voice, and then you have that. Any co-authors, so Bernie, you mentioned that, Alex, co-authors applicable here. Any additional notes, a signature here, and simply push the submit button. So I suspect this will be linked to the Belmas rig page with the background, any background information, and then the form to upload. Once it's uploaded, we'll have all of the abstracts in one place, and then we can go through those. So I think that's fairly straightforward. So that is the process there. Any questions about that, about the nature of the abstract? I did have a draft abstract, but Lizanna and I said we could probably share my draft abstract for this, which was the summer conference. But I don't actually, in hindsight, think there's a need for that. It's fairly straightforward. If anyone's got a question on what might be needed, they could always just have a word with us first. Oh, we've got a question from Steve.
Steve, yeah. I just want to tell you that I actually, mostly I work in inclusion now. I used to be with you, but more recently I did a book for about teaching assistants, and what I want to tell you is that it was fine, and I did it with I can't even remember the thing. Anyway, it was that. Basically, the whole process is fine, but what I would say to you, you even got to think about what you want to have on the front of your the front of your cover. We built it up, and then we spoke to the publisher and so on and so forth. The point that I would like to make is that whether you do go through chapters or you do a whole piece of research or whatever it happens to be, the fact of the matter is you've got to take control of it, because wherever they say to you, I wouldn't say don't trust, but at the end of the day, it's Belmas has to take control of it, not the publishers, because they're just there to sell. And what I'm saying is that they could be great people and all the rest of it, but your papers, your materials, the way that it's presented, the way that it looks must be down to you. You can't
Absolutely, because it's the Belmas series.
Yeah,
it's a book,
that's
Belmas
right,
educational
exactly
series,
so.
reflecting the work of Belmas and their rigs.
Exactly
Absolutely,
so. Yeah.
It's a really
Thanks.
valid point, Steve. Yes.
Cheers, thanks. Because I just when we did this for Emerald, it was Emerald, that they would write. They did a picture for us for the front, and we didn't like it at all, and they weren't allowing equalities, and that's the whole part of the whole thing was in the book. So what I'm saying is always, please, Belmas takes control, not the bit. Thanks ever so much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other observations? Lizanna, we were considering breaking up into groups. I'm not sure how many have actually joined at this moment in time, but we could always have 10 minutes just for any ideas and feedback.
We've got 16 people in the room, so I would imagine if we remove yourself and myself and Kelly, then it's about 13 people. So would you like to break out into small groups.
I think that would be useful, and then we can have any feedback. And then if anyone in the groups is considering us an idea or would like to participate, and would just give an overview of their thinking, then that would be really useful too. So yes, I think so. And should we go for what, 10 minutes?
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you.
So, Andy, are you setting up the breakup rooms, or is Kelly going to do that for us?
Kelly, is Kelly still on? Can she set up the breakout rooms? I can do it pretty easily in Teams, but I've not had to do it for a long,
I
long
don't
time.
think I don't have the capacity. I'm not able to. Otherwise, I would have done it for you.
Right.
Unless Kelly makes me co-host, then I can do that.
Is Kelly, you could spread into breakout rooms for us? Thank you.
I think we needed more time.
Yeah, it looks like we're all back now. That was really useful.
I was going to say, Andy, we needed more time. We were just going for it.
Yes. Well, we had a discussion at our conveners meeting actually, and we felt that at a future online rig, what we need to do is just have a coffee break in the middle. So we just like assign people to rooms. You go off and make a coffee, come back, and you can have just a bit of a chat because it's nice to have a bit of a comfort break. An hour and a half or 2 hours is sometimes quite intense. My concentration span, I mean, I've gone at 45 minutes. And it gives a chance because in our face-to-face meetings, it's really nice just to be able to have a more of an informal chat with members and you find out a lot more. Whereas very often in a rig, when we've got a formal presentation and formal discussion groups, you don't get to meet or know or share ideas in the same way at all. So I think we probably try that next time. Let's have a little informal coffee break.
I think it'd be nice because we were only, I think we heard from 4 people, almost 4. We needed to still circle around to others, which we haven't had a chance to, but I'm sure they have terrific ideas, which would be brilliant for the book.
Yes. Shall we now have feedback from each group? Just informal feedback, because the group we were with, a number of people were interested in getting involved. Danny, did you want to start with our group just informally?
Sorry.
Yes.
What feedback from what we talked about?
Well.
Sorry.
Yes, I mean you were interested yourself, so I think
Yes.
if we've got an idea and you're interested and that you would like to participate, the floor's yours. Just not
So to
too
talk
long
about,
because there's too
sorry,
many.
I thought you meant
But you made a
feedback
really
from
interesting
everyone.
point. We had a discussion about if you've got an idea, but for a chapter, but you're open to work collaboratively with colleagues. And we talked about, didn't we, the advantages of working collaboratively.
Yes, because
too.
I think I think there are going to be a lot of people interested in contributing, and but I mean I've been part of this group for a couple of years now, but I still don't really know what everyone's interests are and whether what scope there is for collaborating. So we were joking about having a sort of matchmaking might be
Yeah,
needed.
you said a matchmaking dating agency, the
Yeah.
Belmas matchmaking group, because the reality is, in a call for abstracts, we could have two or three abstracts that are very similar and sort of dovetail. And therefore, we might actually suggest that the ideas and for each could actually combine. And
I mean,
therefore,
yeah,
you're linking members together fruitfully.
perhaps because we've got said to the end of August for abstracts. Maybe there could be an earlier cutoff for anyone interested in or open to collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
If you set an earlier cutoff, then there could be a sort of review at that point. I don't know if that's feasible or not, but
Yeah, I suspect the abstracts will come in between now and the end of the summer term. Did people feel that uh, time frame was legitimate?
Yeah.
Have we made any sort of blunders? You can let us know if there's any blunders. I know that I think Steve did mention it took a lot longer
Yeah, that's I'm afraid.
from his. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyone else from our group?
Andy, can I just say something about the
Julia,
time,
we had.
if you don't
Sorry.
mind? The timeline. I know Chris, obviously, you had the conversation with Chris, I didn't. Gives us 6 months. Just from my experience from also writing books myself, is it often takes longer. 6
Yeah, it
months
certainly does, I'm afraid.
window. And I think that if you have to coordinate it with a wide range of people, you probably find that it might take even a little bit longer. So I think we need to come back and ask for a bit of a longer timeline on that, perhaps. Just my thinking. Just to be realistic, otherwise we will run out of runway before we even had a runway.
Yeah. I think that's a discussion we can have, isn't it, as conveners with Chris,
Yeah.
because his guidelines was to
I just think it's very tight for
essentially all of the rigs.
yeah, very, very tight for very busy academics,
Yeah.
especially at a time when
Because once you've got
university
16, 15 authors or co-authors writing a piece, they might get theirs in within 6 months, but the review process and to actually get it into themes is quite a task, isn't it? I think, and
True,
get
and
them
also,
to read as if it's one book and not 15 different books.
yeah, but I do think we need to also be mindful of the landscape we're in, where some universities are again on a second or third round of redundancy, so colleagues are taking on more workload, same in school. So we probably need a bit more of a longer timeline allowance.
Yeah.
The chapter length and the number of chapters indicative, does that seem sensible to people? We just wanted to share all these. I mean, someone might say, oh no, that's way too many chapters, or they're too short, they're not substantive enough, but we felt that was a good balance and brings membership together. It's more cooperative.
Yes.
Julia, would you like to share anything? You're new to the rig, and you're joining us from Vietnam.
Yeah, so that's actually evening in Vietnam. And yeah, you are very, very welcoming. That's the only thing I want to say. I was very, like a bit intimidated. Well, I'm always like that. And you're very pleasant. You are very welcoming yourself, and the whole story is not that scary as I thought. So then I'm very, very grateful, and thank you so much for such a nice start. That's what I say.
You did mention, Julia, that prior to submission on the job form that I shared, you would probably just send
I will. Yeah, I will.
our team
Yes, I will.
your
Yes.
initial ideas prior to that, and that's, I think, welcome, isn't it, Lizana?
Yes, it's also
Would
very
welcome
good.
that, and we can discuss that at our rig planning groups.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to
Yeah.
have for a newbie, as I am again. very uncertain of what I'm doing, and if there is a person who knows what it is, and then just lead each other. Well, I don't know how I can help, but I will definitely do my best. But then I will be very grateful if somebody shares their views on my piece of work. That will be absolutely great.
Just to say too, the Belmas office and Wendy, Conrad, and myself and Deb and a few others, we're just monitoring the progress as well of all of the rigs, the 5 rigs that are looking at the putting in a proposal document. In fact, Kelly, didn't you have a meeting? Was it later today, or have you got a meeting tomorrow from another rig? All right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've got a problem with it. Yeah.
It was this morning, if you can hear me.
Oh, right. Okay. So it was this morning, a half-hour meeting. As far as I'm concerned now, we've given the book proposal a really good airing. Unless there are any other questions, I'm prepared. I'm happy to leave it at that. We've got a little bit of work, but I would think by the end of the week or beginning of next week, we'll have everything on the Belmas website in relation to this. If anyone wanted to share any immediate research or any other points, then the meeting would be open to them. But I think we've had a really useful and thorough discussion on the book proposal. I think all the information's out there now.
That's great. Thank you for your hard work on this, Andy, because I know you're leading more specifically on this and had numerous meetings. So I really appreciate it, as always. And also, just at the end, can I just catch you for a few minutes?
Right. Yes. Yes, that's good. Well, how long have we had? We've had about an hour on this meeting now, so we've doubled the time of the previous rig on there. So I guess we're more thorough than the
true.
other. So that's good. A couple of announcements just as we finish. Then we've got our next rig will be Lizana at the conference.
That's correct, yes. So we'll be at the conference, and that's why I went to catch you at the end.
Right, yes. And Ron didn't ask me to do this, but Ron, have people got the date of Ron Hill's conference? Stephanie, you presented it last year up in Sunderland, but if anyone's got the date to hand, I might have it to hand.
Yeah, I haven't, because I've been trying to find it to make sure I kept the date free for this year, and I couldn't find it.
Let me just have a very quick look. Sorry about this. It just occurred to me that it would be useful to share that. It's Friday, the 18th of September. It's a day conference at Sunderland, and the last one I actually got was with Stone King. It was supporting effective college governance in England was the last one. It was, well, I've got the program from it from last year. So if anyone may be interested in Ron's conference, you could pencil in the date, and he'll have his publicity out very shortly. Yeah. Are you presenting this year, Stephanie?
Not as far as I know yet.
All right. But you never know. You never know. Okay.
Never know.
Well, just thank you, everyone, for your interest and your attendance today and your contributions. That's been really good. We're, as we say, more than happy to hear from you in relation to any proposals that you have for your chapter. Be fantastic and really exciting working with you all on this. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, so thank you. And Lizana, I'll just stay on with you for a few minutes. But thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Andy.